Mm. Oh my gosh. Well, welcome to another episode of the Holistic Sister Circle. I cannot believe we are in season 3, and today we have Laura with us. Laura is a podcaster, best-selling author, speaker, and coach dedicated to empowering women. Through her global podcast, That's Where I'm At, and her book, Married to a Nice Guy, Laura shares her personal journey of recovery from a 32 marriage to a narcissist. Her mission is to help women know they're not alone and healing is possible. Laura, welcome to the Holistic Sister Circle. I'm so grateful you're here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. So, for us to get started, we were literally just yapping in the back,
Yeah.
talking about things that honestly don't matter for this episode. So, as we get into it, I would love to know beyond the titles, just dropping the titles for a second.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who is Laura? And what's one thing that you may not have shared on the internet yet that you could share with us? Something
Oh my
personal.
gosh. Well, I share every bit of my business, so there's not much I haven't shared. But let's talk about it. Maybe there will be something that comes out. you know, I the last few years I've been like with the titles, right? I'm a podcaster and a speaker and author, but before that I was just Laura, living my life, trying to figure out what was going on in my marriage, what was happening. I lived in Las Vegas the majority of my life, and I'm a mom to 3 grown kids, and now I'm a grandma. And those kinds of things just make me so happy. And the other things that make me happy, and it's always made me happy, is helping women know their worth and value. And so I'm one of those people that if you hang out with me too long, I'm going to brainwash you into thinking you can do anything. Like, you tell me you want to run for president, I'll be like, oh my God, I will help you. Could be a trauma response somewhere there in there, but that's okay. But I really am that person who you can't sit around with me and think that you're getting away with, no, I can't do it, because that's not me. Now, talking myself into things is harder, but that's who I am. I love to encourage women. So this was a natural progression for me to go from just getting divorced, and then I end up with a podcast. This was not in the plan. I just was getting a divorce, and I'm like, I need to survive and heal and all that. But it's not a surprise to me that I ended up with a podcast. So, especially after doing a lot of healing work. So,
Yeah, and I appreciate that because one of the things and one of the beauty for those of you all who don't know this, but one of the beauty about a podcast is it's such a healing
it
mechanism. I promise you,
is.
like it's one of those things where it doesn't matter what you're going through. Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to or to relate, like someone who you can relate with and just sit down and
Yeah.
have some tea or drink some water and just chit chat. And as soon as you get off of that call, it's like you just feel relaxed.
It's
Like
amazing to me. And
yes.
I have a company I work with, and the CEO, who is now my friend, she said, "You're going to do so much healing while you're interviewing people." And I said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that doesn't even make any sense." I've had real time healing on my podcast, like live healing. I'd be like, "Oh my gosh," like crying and the whole thing. And it's just amazing to hear other people's stories, because there's something, well, this is what I know to be true. Shame is broken when we talk about things, when we bring it to the light. And so that's why I talk about things, and that's why I think there's a connection when we start talking about things and you go, me too. Or I've dealt with something like that. There's a connection there, even across the miles over video.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And for today's topic, y'all, like we are getting into something very special. I think a lot of this has been a buzzword for many,
Hmm.
and this is something that I don't take very lightly. So I would love for you to really hone in
Yeah.
on this. But
Yeah.
for those of you all who are listening, and maybe you think you are in a narcissistic relationship, whether it's with a spouse or a loved one or even family, like these
Mhm.
are things that can be, it's not just in an intimate relationship. It can literally be with
Yeah.
anyone in your household. And
Yeah.
first and foremost, I want to pray for you because I think it's so important
Thank
that
you.
we just lay that on the ground for a second and we come into that energy. But then two, can you just share with us what does it mean to be in a narcissistic relationship and how do you even know like if
Yeah.
you're even in one? What does that even look like?
Right. So it is a buzzword right now, but I used to be in special education, and as we started to hear the word autism a lot, we were like, is there more autism, or are we saying it more? What's going on? And so I feel like it's the same thing. Are we just understanding it more? Because not everybody's a narcissist, though it sure feels like that. And so narcissistic people have a lack of empathy. It's really all about them, and they are going to do everything to make sure that they manipulate every situation so it's about them and not about you, or about that's why you'll find a lot of people say they ruin holidays or birthdays, things like that. But that lack of empathy and a high need of control, those are the two main things. And you will find that in with parents, or like bosses, or even co-workers. They don't even have to be bosses. They can just be co-workers. And then of course in an intimate relationship, and that's really hard. I didn't know I was in a narcissistic relationship until after I got divorced, because I didn't know what was happening to me, because I was with a covert narcissist, which is every narcissist. This is what I heard Dr. Ramani, who is a specialist in narcissistic abuse. She said every narcissist is covert because they have two masks, right? One they have outside, one they have inside the house. And the one that they're showing you inside the home, that's the real one. That's not a mask. That's their true nature. And so I didn't know. I just thought he was really difficult. And I didn't know what was going on. But then what happens, because I was with him for 33 years, when you start healing, your brain gets clarity. You start to get clarity, and then you start your brain wants to put pieces together, because that's our response to trauma, to lots of things. We try to figure out, why is this happening, or why did this happen? And we put the pieces together. And I just heard it one day. I saw a video on the internet. I started seeing things, and I put the pieces together, and I felt like God gave me a full download, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I started, researching everything I could, and became an expert. I
Wow.
mean,
Something that you said too that I believe is so powerful is that you didn't know,
yeah,
and having awareness of anything is very important, but when you don't know, you don't know what to look for. And I'll share a quick story as well.
mhm,
Now this has not been proven. This has not been a thing where this was a diagnosis or anything,
right.
but I've had this in relationships with parents.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
especially that mother and daughter bond. It's very, very, very interesting. I remember, and for me, this didn't happen until I became much older, right? And I
mhm,
became an adult, and I started having my own mind and thoughts and behaviors. And they're very different from, of
right.
course, my parents. And
Yeah,
that's where the strife came. And I would
yeah,
love to know from, you were with your husband for 33 years,
yeah,
and not knowing this and dealing with it every single day. I'm sure it took a toll on
yeah,
your self-esteem.
yeah,
So at what point did you say, enough is enough, and you just didn't want to tolerate this anymore? Because I will
yeah,
say that, especially in an intimate relationship, it's very hard to determine what's actually love and control. I mean, like what's actually love and
yeah.
protection versus like control. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Oh, very
yeah,
much so. I
yeah.
completely understand. And so, when the person who's abusing you is also soothing you or giving you praise, that forms a trauma bond, and it's an actual chemical reaction in your brain. And so that's why I didn't stay 33 years because it was fun. I stayed 33 years because I was like, wait, there's a glimmer of hope over there. He was nice to me. But that one nice time, you know what I mean? Like,
Sorry, that's not funny. It's just the way that you said it, because that is true. You do
yeah,
have a sense of hope that things are going to turn around.
right.
So,
Well, and this is the other thing too. There's a lot of layers to this, being in a religion that was like, divorce is bad and all these kinds of things. And then also I valued my marriage to the point where I was like, we can make it work. If I just show him this PowerPoint presentation of how he can treat me better. But listen,
what? Laura,
they
you did
they
not show him a
no, I
PowerPoint.
didn't. He wouldn't have cared. No, but do you know how many times we sat in marriage counseling, which you're not supposed to do if you think you're in abuse, which I didn't know. because every time we went to marriage counseling, it was my fault. They thought, well, it's probably a good idea if you get on some meds because there's something wrong with you. You're overreacting. He seems like such a nice guy, blah, blah, blah. I heard it all over the years. And then because my self-esteem was so low, which is their intention to get you down, they break you down so that you don't have that self-esteem anymore. You don't have any will to live, frankly. I mean, at the end, I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, is this going to be my life? And so one thing didn't have to happen for me. So for me, I did not have physical abuse, though, you can quibble over some of the things he did to say it was. But if it's all mental abuse, your brain doesn't know what to do because you have the good and the bad. The person who's abusing you is also soothing you and showing you love. It's so confusing. Our brain is chemically wired and trauma bonded to them. So it was hard to leave. But I woke up one day and my therapist had said, "You've been really cleared with him. He's either unwilling or unable." And I was like, yeah. Like he just didn't, it seemed like he just didn't get it. Like you just don't get how to be nice to your wife. Like, I mean, it's 33 years of stories, but but your basic wants and needs, like caring for you, like he would come home from work and just walk right past me. Those are intentional things to make you feel less than, that you are not important. Doesn't matter if you're here or not here, because they are using you for whatever they need. So I woke up one day and said, do I want to live like this for another 40 years? What if we're still alive for another 40 years? Am I going to do this? And I said, no, I couldn't do it anymore. So that was it. And that's what I coach women on. They want a clear sign. We make our moment. You can't wait for a moment. You can't wait for them to cheat or to hit you or something. You can't wait. Make your moment. Change your life by deciding, is this good for you the rest of your life? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I met people who were married 41 years. I've met people who were married 48 years. And they were like, F this. Like, this isn't for me.
And I feel like there's like two parts of this that I've seen just across the internet. We watch a lot of like relationship podcasts too, and listen to them as well. And on one note, I do see, especially couples who are on a high level, they do assessments every year.
Okay.
And they assess if this relationship is still worth being in.
Yeah.
And obviously, I know if you are, again, some of you may not necessarily know that, again, you're in a narcissistic relationship, but is that something that you would even recommend to your clients?
I can speak to it. Yeah. And I can speak to that. So let me tell you, because we did do that. Let me tell you what would happen. Okay. Everything was my fault. And that is a very common theme.
Okay.
It's a very common theme in a narcissistic relationship, because there's always an imbalance in power. And what they are always trying to do is break you down. So everything is your fault. They will not take responsibility or accountability for anything. Nothing. Whoa, the blaming. Yes, they will blame you for everything. Everything's your fault. They kicked the dog, but it's your fault because you made them do it. Or if you wouldn't have been late from work, or if you would have fed them the dog sooner, I wouldn't have had to kick the dog. It's crazy making. And so you can try to assess, but for me, we tried everything over the years. Nothing worked because you didn't have two willing participants. You had one whose intention was to break down the other partner. And then you have me over here going like, if only I could, I would be better. If I could be better, because he would tell me, if only you were nicer, whatever, insert whatever, anything that he needed. I would try to be it. It was never enough. Never. I didn't know how. Every prayer was, God save my marriage. It is the saddest thing. It's so sad. Literally, God save my marriage. I was praying that till the end. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. And I really had a hard time with that. But my friend said, we also have free will. And he chose, God said, I'd be glad to save your marriage. But this one over here isn't choosing to do anything about it. right? You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
appreciate you sharing that perspective. And the other perspective to this that I have is
yeah,
from again, listening to relationship podcasts, especially as women, we age.
yeah.
And as we get older, a lot of, especially from a male's perspective, it's like, you're older now. What's the point in leaving this relationship
Okay. Yeah,
when you are on the other side of life?
yeah.
And on this, in this perspective, it's like, okay, because you are on the other side of life, from a financial perspective, from a health perspective, does it even make sense to still leave? And I would love to know your thoughts on that too, because I know people too who've been married for 30 plus years, they
Yeah.
get a divorce, and they're so stuck in that mind frame of that divorce that they either never move on or they
Oh,
actually never find anyone that was even the same caliber as the person that they were married to.
okay. Yeah. Okay, so well, we don't know what's on the other side. Nothing is
Mhm.
promised, but
Right.
I when I was coaching someone recently, she was telling me she doesn't feel strong enough to leave because she hasn't even left. And that's a really hard thing to think about because the me before divorce and the me after divorce, when you're not in abuse, you don't have someone actively abusing you, is so different. Things I didn't think I could do, I can do because now I have a clear mind, all those things. Now, I mean, that's a really big question. I'm not, because most states you're going to split everything 50-50, all those kinds of things. But again, I want to just bring it back to is is this if you're sitting across from this person at 75, and I mean, I've seen those people. They're just crabby, they don't like each other. What's the point? What so somebody's going to take care of you? The statistic is in sickness and in health, men will leave 60% more times. I could be botching that, but it's a lot higher. Men will leave way more often than women will. If a woman gets sick, the man will leave a lot more times than the woman will. Like the woman only leaves like say something like 10% of the time. The man leaves like 60% of the time
Wow.
if their partner gets sick. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's going to happen with you, but if you're already in a relationship where your partner doesn't even treat you that well, what do you think is going to
Yeah.
happen if something happens? Do you want that person taking care of you?
Mm.
It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to think about.
It is. It kind of gives me like chills. Just like, ugh, do I want that? Probably not.
Right. I mean,
Probably.
for me, my therapist asked me, she said, "Where are you going to live and what are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know and I don't care. I'd rather live in my car in the ditch than be with him anymore." And that's the
Wow.
point you have to get to because I didn't care. Now, of course, I am saying that from a point of privilege. I was able to move in with my brother. We did split everything, down the middle, but I'm not living the life I was living before.
Right.
I know how he's living because there was possibly money hidden, those kinds of things. But it's like I'm okay. I'm in a small little condo. There's peace in my house. And that was the goal, was waking up and going to sleep in peace. And that was the
Yeah.
goal because that's not what I had.
Yeah. And then now, like, are you actively dating now or what does that look like
No,
now?
no, no, thank you. But well, I don't recommend it, right away. No, thank you. No, no, listen, you don't wanna jump into a relationship right away because if you're not careful, especially for me, like, I didn't know I was in narcissistic abuse until about 3 months after, as I was healing, and then I was like, "What's happening?" And I figured it out. No, what if I would have gotten into a relationship right away? Love bombing is very evident when you've been in abuse and you understand it. But love bombing, if you still have that wound where you need that wound filled, that
Mhm.
love wound, maybe it's some childhood stuff, who knows? Like the first thing you should be doing is going to get healing. I I'm so not ready. I've been on a few dates and I was like, is this worth like giving up my peace? I don't think so. Like, I don't that I'm not
Just
I'm
from a
okay.
date? You thought that far from a date?
Yeah.
It was maybe it
I'm like,
wasn't a good date. Where'd you go?
no, I no, I'm very introverted and I'm very happy. And so I
Mhm.
think this is very common. It's like men, unfortunately, are going to compete with our peace at this point. And so I'm not saying I'll never date. I'm just not in the mood to date right now.
Yeah.
I'm happy not dating right now. And I think that comes from maybe I overcorrected and I healed too much because I don't want to be around anybody. But the other thing is you don't have to be fully healed. There's no fully healed anyway, but you don't have to be fully healed to go on a date. Just do some work so that you understand when this person is showering you with, all the love and attention, that's not what you're living off of, because we need to get to a point where outside validation isn't our only thing. We
Right.
need to be able to live off our internal validation and be okay with the way we love ourselves and not worry about, so one of the dates I went on, I looked pretty good, but I went on in a sweatshirt. I was very casual because I'm like, I'm not there's nothing to fake at 58. There's nothing to fake at this point. It's like, this is who I am. And in my dating profiles, when I had one, I have Taylor Swift is in there. I have my Mickey ears on because I love Disneyland. And those are the guys that need to be attracted to me, because I don't want to hear one thing ever again. Oh, that's dumb. Well, no, you're not going to ruin my.
I'm like, they still might say that.
They can say that, but that doesn't mean I'll be dating them, because you don't have to be a Swiftie with me, but you don't need to rain on my parade. And so so it's a different outlook of what I'm looking for. So anyway, I'm just not, I feel bad. There's other people I can direct you to if you need somebody to talk to about dating. It's not me.
No, it's okay. I was just curious. I'm like,
Mhm.
are we or not? It's okay.
Yeah.
So from that transformation from a client perspective, what are some things that you all go through to
Yeah.
help them get to the other side? And
Yeah.
just on average, I know everyone is different, but
Yeah.
how long is that how long does it normally take for them to see results?
Well, it just depends. It just depends on the work they're doing, and it varies. I mean, some people I only see a few times, other people I'll see for weeks, and we'll go through an entire program. So I have tons of resources available, and lots of different ways to work with me, but we're working on being okay with the choice you made. Okay. You left after a year, or you left after 40 years, whatever your choice was, we're going to learn to be okay with it, because it's okay to make these decisions, because people feel it's a normal human response to feel ashamed or to
Yeah.
feel really bad, or like, I gave up on my marriage. Like, you didn't give up on anything for after 40 years or whatever it is. Like, people say that to me. I go, after 33 years, I gave up. No, I really didn't. But thanks for saying that. And then we work on loving ourselves, boundaries, and then dreaming for the future, because my target audience is women in midlife. I got to 55 and my entire life changed. I thought I was spending my life with somebody there, like my retirement years and stuff. And instead, he's doing that with somebody else. So what does that make me a bad person? No. And does that make me less than? No. So we work on that. Let's dream for the future. And that's how you break the trauma bond, is you don't worry about them. You worry about yourself and loving yourself and dreaming for your future.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's super helpful. And for those of you, if there was someone who was looking to take away just one piece of advice from this
Mm.
episode, what would you share with them? Just something practical that they could do today.
Yeah. Well, I definitely would say learn to set healthy boundaries, but healthy boundaries don't happen unless you love yourself. So that's the first thing I recommend, is people start working on loving themselves. And the way you can see your level of how much you love yourself is, if I was in the room with you and I said, hey, let's take a picture together, how would you react? Because that is a really good indicator in this world right now.
You did that to me.
Yeah, I did that to you. And I
So what does
didn't
that mean?
I didn't do it to check on you. I just
Oh,
did it because because I'm going to advertise, but I didn't do it to check on you. I did it because I have friends who are like gorgeous, okay, like model gorgeous, and
uh-huh.
they don't take pictures. I'm not saying that not everybody likes to take pictures, but why? Listen to the voice in your head. Is it your mom's voice who was telling you? I can think back to my dad's voice when I was 12, who told me I was fat. Like,
Oh,
that's the work we're doing. We're
mm,
loving we have to look in that mirror. And who is it? Mary J. Blige, who says, good morning, gorgeous. It's like, do that. Like, just say that. Like, but even a little bit of that fake it till you make it, because we can change our neural pathways in our brain to really start believing that we are gorgeous and that we can do anything. So just start loving yourself. That's where I start with everybody.
Yeah, I love that. Well, no, thank you so much for this. This has been fun. This has
Yeah.
been exciting. And I know
Thank
this
you
is
for
not
having me.
you're welcome. I know this is not an easy topic, but I think with the laughs that people really do get it and they understand. And
Yeah.
for those who would love to connect with Laura further, like what does that process look like? How can they connect with you? Tell us all the things.
Sure. Well, if you go to that's where I'm at
Mhm.
podcast.com, you will see my podcast. I'm all over social media. I call out the narcissists every day, all day. And
Yeah, you do.
but yes, I do. I know, you know what? I had to be quiet for 55 years of my life. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm not going to be quiet anymore. So that's where I'm at. Podcast.com will get you everything, my podcasts, videos, my books. I have freebies for your listeners. You know, if anybody wants to go grab a freebie, I have a few of them. And just, you know, or you want to work with me. So there's lots of options for you. I have tons of resources too. So whatever you might need.
Yeah, I love that. And now Laura is part of the Holistic Sister Circle community as well. So
Yay.
if you don't connect with her, you connect with me. I'll send you right over too. So I'm
Perfect.
super excited about that. Laura, thank you so much for your time and sharing your not just your passion, but your breakthrough with us. That was a
Thank
lot
you.
that you had to go through and
Yeah.
rediscovering yourself and healing. And now you're transforming it into something beautiful and you're sharing it with others. I genuinely appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Talk soon.